All right, we got Mr. Larry Cooper's truck here, and we are going to start doing a diag on it. It looks like he has a boost fuller. Nothing wrong with that, or maybe that's a boost gauge, maybe. Okay, not sure yet. Haven't even opened the truck and looked inside. We got the little battery insulation is down there, kind of in the way, no big deal. This is either an 03 or an early 04 truck because the ICP sensor is underneath of the turbo. Looks like we've got new Duracell batteries. Battery hold downs are present. The vacuum is plugged in, the vacuum pump. Let me take a look up here, step up on this tow hook. Okay, we got our bolts here in the radiator. Got clamps everywhere. We just installed a fuel pressure gauge. Looks like he's got an OEM oil cap, which is good. Looks like he's got a new or newer alternator. This clamp is not actively rubbing on this line that goes over here, so that's good. This guy right here should be zip tied up. VGT pigtail looks like it might need a little bit of attention, not a big deal. It looks like even though this is an early model truck, 03, 04 early model, it's got an updated oil cooler top, which is good. EGR cooler is round and still present, and it has a little orange booty on the outlet of the oil cooler, which is also original. But the first thing that I see right here is this serpentine belt. This serpentine belt is supposed to be, I believe, 8 ribs. It looks like it's about 5. So it definitely needs a belt, but we've got to figure out why the belt is shredding, not just put a new belt on it. So more than likely, we've got something going on with the belt. I can tell this cab has probably been off because this is an example of what the guys used to do back in like 03, 04. They would cut the fan shroud right there and then self-tap it back together. It's actually, I think, what Ford said to do. Look at this. I like this warning. Do not mix different brands of coolants. That's actually a really excellent sign to be put on a radiator because it's very, very common for people to do that. This is definitely not a factory radiator, but it is a new radiator, or newer to this truck. I don't know why it has a new radiator, but when we do this complete diag on this truck, we're likely to find out. We've got a messed up oil dipstick indicator. That's going to be an oil leak. We like to replace those anytime we find those are broken. Looks like somebody has redone the PCM connector. This is the E connector for the engine. It goes from here over to the other side, connects to all your sensors and stuff like that. We have compression fittings on a brake line. That is a no-go. That's definitely something that should be addressed. Looks like whoever did the job also did not put the holder back on the brake line. Air filter looks dirty. Probably could use a cleaning on that. We got something else going on here. We've got a power steering line that looks like somebody just cut it out of the way. And they updated it with the new style, which is great and all, but man, that's just some half-ass work right there. You know, there's a local shop to me that does work like that, but I know this truck's not from that local shop. We've also got a broken air filter minder, so we're going to want to get a new one of those. Wow, power steering fluid looks nice and fresh, and it looks like it's the right level, most likely because of the repair that was just made there. Also, brake fluid is at max, looks good. Also, coolant. There's the max line, there's the min line. This is actually the max line. This is where you want the top of your coolant to be. Taking this off. I don't see anything crazy going on there. Okay. Got some auxiliary items in here. Looks like we got a Banks, some sort of commander. Looks like we probably have like a alarm system or something. Give me a second here, I'm gonna get underneath the truck. Okay, we're looking in here. The steering gear actually looks like it's been replaced relatively recent, but the plastic cover, which is right here, belongs down there. Not a big deal, just kind of like a sign of the work that's been done on the truck. Yeah, it definitely has a new steering gear. That's good. Got some, I don't know, maybe old belt or something right there hanging down. I do need to grab a hold of all of these steering components, but I'll do that once we get inside. But I don't see anything super alarming at the moment. So there's your trans filter. Got a little holder right here, it's not being used. Looks like somebody has replaced these lines as well. They look nice and fresh. Probably happened the same time the radiator got done, if I had to guess. Alright, so we definitely got some rust, which sucks. Rust is one of those things that I just absolutely hate. Truck's got a straight pipe on it. Let's see. Some more rust. Oh, it's got some train horns. Looks like we got a mild oil leak. Nothing crazy, pretty common. And we got the old style transmission pan, pretty common as well on 6 liters. Looks like we got a broken strap on the fuel tank back there. Definitely going to be something that will have to be addressed as well. The backing plates on the rear axle look like those things are gone as well. Alright, so let's get started on the inside for this Diag. We're going to go ahead and get this key turned on, and we're going to be looking at fuel pressure itself. Let's see what it is. Okay, hard to see through the video, but it looks like it is 80 psi. So it's a touch high, but 80 psi is okay for now. So we're going to go ahead and get put in here, exit out of this. I don't need my flash on. Let me exit out of that other one. It does have a Banks tuner switch on it, which I had to unplug, which is probably what all those items are that are plugged in underneath the dash. We're going to go ahead and start a new session here, open it up. I'm plugged into the OBD2 port down there with the VCM. We've got looks like a little power boost system, probably have subwoofers in this truck or something. It's asking me if it's an 03 or an 04 model year. Here's how you tell. Come down here, and if you look from the end here of the VIN to the 8th one back, where right there it says that it's a 3, right? Being the fact that this says 3, this is a 2003 model year truck. So people will oftentimes look at the build date and it says 04 of 03, so they're like, oh, it's a 04 truck, or oh, it's an 03, whatever. The build date does matter, but not for this. What you need to do is you need to go by this number right here, okay? That's the number that you need to go by. But being the fact that this is built before 9/23 of 2003, I know that this is an early model truck. It's going to have all of the 03 style stuff. And I'm going to go ahead and select 2003 model year. And let me go ahead and hit yes here, because that is correct. I pause the video, wait for this to come up. I'm going to go ahead and print screen that. I'm going to open up a WordPad document. I'm going to paste that into there. And then I'm going to go over here. And usually the very first thing I do is I pull codes. So we wait for the codes to come up. Alright, and here's all the codes that are in the system. 0603, power interruption, don't really care about that code. P1000, don't care about that code. Parking lamp and headlamp, I don't really care about those codes. Those are not going to be longevity codes or codes that I'm worried about. Almost all those other like transfer codes and stuff like that, transfer case codes, typically I don't care about those either. I'm not going to clear the codes just yet because there's a couple of other things that I want to do. In fact, I want to go and find out how long ago it was that the codes were cleared. So I've got a predefined PID set that I can pull up, and it will include the distance since codes were cleared. So give me a minute while that pops up. Alright, so I paused it while the PIDs were loading, and I'm just going to go in here. You can choose whatever PIDs you want, but I'm choosing our 6-liter General Diag. We've got Barrow at 14.4. That's a touch low, but that's okay. Fickum sync, no. Regular sync is no. That would be expected because the key's on and the truck is not on. VGT duty cycle is also open. APP is 0. Battery voltage is 11.3. EBPG is 0. All of these numbers are to be expected. ECT is 48. EGR duty cycle is 0. EGR valve position is 0.9. EOT is 50. FECM power is 47.5. ICP is 0. And ICP voltage is 0.12. All of those numbers are right in line with what I would expect. I would expect a slightly higher voltage reading if this was an 05 or newer truck, but being the fact that this is an 03 early 04, I wouldn't expect it to be any higher than that. ICP desired, of course, is 0. IPR is 14. That's normal. MAP is reading within about 0.3 of Barrows, so we're good there. MGP is reading 0.14. Definitely should be reading 0, but I would assume that, you know, that really isn't that big of a deal. We'll see here in a little bit if there's an issue, being the fact that this is an 03. And since this is an 03, we're going to go in here and we're actually going to pull up VGT learn positions, and we're also going to pull up VGT learn OK. Those are two things that have to be pulled up on an 03 specific truck that you don't normally have to pull up on the 05 and newer style trucks. So let's see what it says right here. It looks like VGT learn is okay, and it has 16 learn events, so everything's good there. And the VGT duty cycle is currently open. We do expect that. There should also be a message or a PID in here. It's called distance since codes cleared. Give me 1 second. I'm going to look at it not through the computer screen here, or not through the phone screen here. Hang on. Well, I couldn't find it, and that's not that big of a deal. Let's go ahead and I'm going to set this up so that whenever I click on the record button, it's going to record the previous 15 seconds. And I'm going to cycle the key off and then back on. I've got a fuel pressure gauge on out there. I also had a coolant pressure gauge installed while I was talking to you guys. It's a 0 to 30 PSI coolant pressure gauge. I've got that teed in right here to the degas bottle line. That way we can monitor how much coolant pressure the truck's making. But being the fact that this is where it needs to be and this cap doesn't look like it's got a bunch of white residue, there's a good chance we're not dealing with a high high coolant pressure issue from like blown head gaskets or anything. But we did recently have a radiator put in the truck, so somebody did. So I never take any chances. I always look at this stuff anytime a truck comes in for a general diag. So I'm about to crank the truck, but I recorded the last like 15 seconds of the key being on, and here we go. So I'm going to go ahead and wait like a second, and then I'm going to record that startup, and then immediately I'm going to go over to powertrain, and I'm going to go to power balance. I do feel a miss. I'm going to let it idle like this for a minute. It's not terrible. Oh, and I also opened up my my general diag. It's available right on the website. But I just print screened the power balance and I put it on my data log sheet. Now I'm going to go ahead and turn off adaptive idle. Look at how that changes. I'm going to go ahead and paste that in there as well too. Let it idle a little bit. Still messing up. In fact, it stinks pretty good, so I'm going to pull this truck forward a hair. Alright, so I pulled it forward a little bit and still have a really choppy idle. 4 is definitely down, like real bad. It's very difficult to see like which other ones might be affected, but this guy wants to have everything like as reliable as possible. It's probably a good chance that he should just go ahead and put all 8 injectors in this truck, because it's really not even that cold out, and this truck is starting like this already. Like, it's not really that great. So let me see if I can get this thing to let the adaptive idle work, because CSL 7 had popped down a couple times as well too. So you've got an injector that's on the passenger bank dropping out. You have an injector that's on the driver bank that's dropping out. Here, even with the adaptive idle on, 7's still dropping down. I can also do this. Watch this. I will actually put a load on the injectors. I'll put the truck in drive, and I will bring the RPMs up to 1200 RPMs. And look at that, 7 is just dropping out big time. Look at that. I can feel it. Like, pretty much any time the injectors drop below 20, a human can feel it. So this, you can't feel. This, you can't feel. This, you can't feel. This and this is going to be what you're feeling. Okay. Let me go ahead and get out of this. Hit exit. Okay. Let's go over to my general diagnostic. Let's make sure I zoom it in here real quick. This is where I put my name, the customer's name, the VIN, the mileage, the date, the door code. In this case, it's going to be a crew cab, short bed, 4x4, black. Let me get that stuff filled out. Hang on. All right, so I've got the beginning here filled out. There is no door code on this truck. Let me show you where it normally is. Normally, there'd be a door code right here. In fact, you can see one on that truck right there. Let me see if I can do this with my finger. Come on, come on, come on. Oh, there it is. Too far. Too far, too far. There it is. Oh, yep. Right there by the door handle. Alright, so it says perform the circle when complete or cross out and give a reason why you did not, could not do it. Meaning anything from here down. Screenshot each test and save it in the new WordPad document. Well, this is my diag sheet, so I'm going to go up here and I'm going to save it as, and I'm going to put it in here as Mr. Larry Cooper. It's hard to do this with one hand. And then 10, 25, 24 is going to be the thing for this. And I'm saving it in customer data logs, not to the computer. Okay, so I'm following directions is what it says in here. Let me move so that this thing's not, it doesn't have the sun in the way. Just give me a second. All right, so oil level. Dave, was the oil level correct?
It was high.
It was high. How much was it high? All right, how high, how overfill was the oil level?
About a quart.
So 1 quart. Is it anything to be worried about?
No.
Okay. That could be explained by somebody who does like an oil change and maybe they put all 4 gallons, you know, in the truck or something like that instead of just doing their normal, you know, 15 quarts or whatever it is. Let me get this thing plugged in so it's not beeping at you guys. Okay. Coolant level. How was the coolant level?
Looked good.
It was correct. Okay. Coolant level was correct. Did it look like there was more than one type of coolant in there?
No.
Did it look like there was any other foreign objects or foreign fluids or anything like that in the coolant?
No.
Okay. So basically, did the oil and the coolant, did they look right?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. Power steering. How did power steering fluid look?
Didn't check that yet.
Okay. I did. It looks correct and it looks nice and clean. Well, the reason it's probably nice and clean is because some power steering lines had just been replaced on the truck. Brake fluid. Did you look at that?
No.
Okay, same thing. Looks correct, looks good, looks clean. Windshield washer fluid. Did you check that?
No, I did not.
All right, go check that real quick. Battery terminals. We're checking to make sure that they're tight, we're making sure that they're clean, and we're making sure that both hold downs are present. Let's go do that. Okay, here we go. So we're going to test this battery. Now technically this battery, somebody tightened this down before this battery terminal was all the way pushed down. Okay, whenever that happens, you see how this is coming over top of this? That right there is a result of being too high on the post on the battery. This should be loosened, this should be pushed down. I usually use like a 22, 24 millimeter socket. I gently tap it down because this is actually also not all the way down, but this looks way better. But this right here will damage your terminals and it needs to be addressed because eventually you're going to be stripping this out. In fact, it already looks like the bolt is actually curved, probably from being over torqued as well as like this thing's, you know, kind of being deformed. No good. Okay, so battery terminal is good and tight. Okay, battery is in there nice and tight. Battery hold down is present. Let's take a look at this side. Once again, this is not pushed down all of the way. It's flush with the top of the post. It should be below the top of the post. But luckily in this case, it's not really damaging anything yet. Same thing here, except once again, it's flush with the top of the post, and this is starting to bevel up. This should be loosened. All 4 battery terminals should be loosened. They should all be installed correctly and then retightened. Somebody recently put these batteries in here and just didn't know that. No big deal. Okay, that's tight. That's tight. I don't see any loose connections, and the battery hold down is present. Also, we're going to check the windshield washer fluid. It looks fine as well. All right, so battery terminals, they're tight. They're clean, and both hold downs are present. I also went ahead and started filling this out. Remember the air filter minder that I was talking about? Well, it is present, but it's broken. Can I click it? No, because it's broken. Can I check it manually? No, because it's broken. Fuel level. Let's go ahead and put this down next, okay? Fuel level. These are our options here. How much fuel does the truck have? Well, according to this, it's just below 3/4 of a tank. So I'm going to choose... Somebody, that's funny, somebody has modified this. That is backwards. It is going to be 5/8. It's not 3/4. Do not make fuel for the truck. If the fuel says, if it's just below 3/4, then it's not 3/4. It's the one, it's eighth of a tank below that, okay? And in this case, we are below 3/4, but we are above 5/8 of a tank. However, you write down 5/8 in this case, okay? Never add fuel to the truck when you're writing this down right here. When you had the fuel filter cap off, did it smell like diesel?
Yes, and it looked like diesel.
It smelled and looked like diesel, so that's why we look at that, okay? Now, I'm going to go on down here. It says to load test the batteries if a concern is present. Well, a concern is not present, so I'm not really that worried about any of this stuff here, okay? Not present. Regardless of outcome, do not let this interfere with you performing your diag, because we can use the battery wagon and then just move on, and we can let the office handle battery issues with the customer. We can almost always get a truck started even if it has dead batteries, right?
Yes.
All right, distance codes cleared. I went and looked for that and I could not find that, so I'm just going to go ahead and put NA. It doesn't really matter that much on this particular diag. It would matter on a truck that came in and it was a crank no start or crank rough idle or something like that, because if somebody had recently cleared the codes, then we're not going to be able to tell what the codes are that were there when the problem was present. Here's the other thing that matters about this. This is an 03 truck. Being the fact that it's an 03 truck, anytime you clear the codes, it also removes VGT Learn. I'm not a fan of removing VGT Learn on 03 trucks. Don't clear the codes unless you have to. Even though this will tell you to clear codes and see what comes back, an 03 truck is going to be an example of where you need to make the best decision as to whether or not you should clear codes or not, okay? So now it's asking us to do a buzz test. Technically, the buzz test should have happened before I started the truck, but this particular truck was not here for a concern like this, so it's okay that I'm doing it a little bit differently here. Self-test, powertrain, engine, injector, self-test. I'm going to go ahead and hit enter. I'm going to go ahead and enter again. You're going to hear the fickum. Hold on. The ignition switch, it is on. Let me hit enter one more time. There we go. Sorry. One, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Number 5 sounded different, number 5, but the fickum buzzed really, really fast. Let's go see what the results are. And it is a pass. So I'm going to go ahead and print screen that, and I'm going to take it back over here, and the buzz test is going to be a pass. Okay. And it sounded good as well. Number 5 was a little bit different, but it's still okay. Relative compression. Let's see if we're going to be able to do a relative compression. I have my thoughts that maybe we're not going to be able to do one on this particular truck. So I'm going to exit out of this. I'm going to go in here. I'm going to go down to powertrain, and I'm going to go down to relative compression. You've got to maintain battery voltage and hold the throttle wide open, and here we go. Up. So I'm going to print screen that in case that happens. Hold wide open throttle. Ah, there it is. What did I tell you? Probably going to deal with that right there. So let me go back over here. And relative compression. I'm going to say it. I'm not going to say like it passed or failed. I'm just basically going to say
unable to perform test.
Yeah. The truck's not really here for that either, but I mean it is, but it's not. Like the truck didn't come in like with a major problem. Not able to do. Okay, see below. Okay. We're going to record the definitions and the numbers, paste them at the bottom. I already did that. And then it says to clear codes. We're not going to clear codes because this is an 03. So let me type that in there. So I'm not clearing the codes because it's an 03 truck. If you run into a problem or a code that will affect everything else, we got to request to fix it first. There isn't a problem or code that's going to affect everything else that we need to request to fix before we go on. As soon as the truck starts, record the previous 15 seconds. You saw me change that in the video earlier, and then immediately switch to the power balance. So I have this recording, which is my key on, engine off values, okay? And then I also have my key on, engine running startup values. Okay, and I also have my power balance values. All of that stuff is, well, the power balance is already on here. It's at the very bottom, and my print screens for this, I'm about to go grab them. I'm going to show you how to grab them here in a second. All right, so I moved the truck to a different location. I'm going to let it like warm up while I fill this information out. That way I can kill two birds with one stone. Truck needs to warm up, and I need to fill this information out. So right here, we've got 80 PSI on the fuel pressure. Man, I don't know why that thing is beeping. Not even moving. I don't have it in park. I mean, I don't have it in drive. All right, key on, engine off values. Let's go grab those. So let me get out of this relative compression table. Let me get out of that. I'm going to go back to my data logs. I already have some data logs saved. So I'm going to go to my first one. See right here, I'm going to click this back arrow right here. All right, the top half is going to be the first part that I need. Oh, okay. Key on, engine off value, paste that, hit enter, alt tab. I'm going to scroll to the bottom here, and I'm going to print screen that, and I'm going to alt tab, and I'm going to go over there as well. And then this is the next thing that I do. These are the values that I need to fill out. So what I'm going to do is I'll pull these up, and I'll put them like this. Okay, I can see my APP, I can see my battery voltage, I can see all that. And then this guy right here, I make him a little bit smaller as well. I put him right here. Oh, let me try that again. Put him right here. And then I bring that down and over. Okay, so Barrow is going to be 14.42. Well, what did we learn? 03 trucks, for whatever reason, always seem to read a little bit lower on the Barrow there. Not always, but sometimes. And I don't know, I can't really explain it. Don't know, it doesn't really matter. It's not far enough out of spec that Ford even calls for it to be an issue. 10.1, battery voltage is a little bit lower than I'd like to see, but it's not the end of the world. Exhaust back pressure voltage. Well, this is an 03 model truck. It doesn't have exhaust back pressure voltage. It's just going to have EPBG. So I'm going to put an NA available there. Okay. Then I'm going to go over here, EPB absolute, and that's also going to be NA. And then EPBG. EPBG is going to be 0 PSI, just like it should be. Coolant temp is going to be 48 degrees. That's roughly what ambient air temperature is, so that's going to be okay. EOT is 50 degrees. Once again, that's roughly ambient air temperature, and this is the first start of the day, so that's what I would expect it to be. FICM voltage is 47.5. 47.5, there you go. ICP is going to be 0 PSI, just like it should be. 0. Come on now, 0. ICP voltage. Now remember I mentioned earlier about how I would expect voltage to be a little bit higher, 1.8, 2.0, or 0.20. If it was like an 04.5 to 07 or even 010 if it was a van, 6 liter. But in this case it's an 0360, so 0.12 is pretty common. IPR should be at 14%, and it is. It's reading 14.8. Okay, and then MAP. MAP should also read very close to Barrow. It's reading 14.3. So it's reading like a touch low for what it actually is outside, but it's not the end of the world. MGP is reading 0.21. Oh, let me do that again. 0.21. VGT duty cycle is reading 0. So if you're still following along here, I just filled out all of that stuff, and I have the top print screen that supports that information, and I have the bottom print screen that supports that information. Here is the tricky part, okay? Everybody screws this portion of it up. The key on engine running startup. When you're doing the key on engine running startup, I'm gonna go find that screenshot here, okay? Here's where the truck started. I'm going to take out all of the items that I don't need. Try that again. Oh, damn it. I just need to stop double clicking on it. I don't need any of this stuff here. Technically, you need that stuff, but not today. I do need that, I need that, I need that, I need that. I don't need manifold pressure. I don't need VGT stuff. Pull it up, but I do need cam crank sync. Okay, so all of that. I don't necessarily need desired, but that's okay. Alrighty. So, here is what it tells you to do. It tells you to pull up the lowest, record the lowest of the battery voltage and the lowest of the FICM. Then it wants you to have the highest of every other PID, which means you need 2 screenshots. And you're going to reduce the PIDs that are displayed. That's what I just did. And you can change the scale as needed for these screenshots. So let me help you out here. See how the battery voltage, you can't see where it's actually at? Let's click on that, and then let's click on this guy right here. And let's drop this down and move that down as well. Now we can see the actual voltage, right? So let's move this over to where we can see the lowest battery voltage. It went down to 8.31. Now let's look at the FICM voltage. 47.50 is the lowest battery voltage that we saw. So here we go. What was the lowest battery voltage? 8.31, is that right?
Yes.
Okay. Then you got 47.5 right there. I'm going to print screen, I already print screened that, and I posted the lowest battery voltage. Let's go back and let's get the highest of all of these. You ready? Boom, right there. That's the highest, okay? So I'm going to print screen that. ICP came up. See how it looks like a nice mountain? If this were turned over, where like this is what it looked like while you were cranking, and it was like slow, 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 and then finally built up enough to start, that's a problem. But this should look like a plateau for the ICP desired. IPR should look like a plateau that trails off, and then ICP should look like 2 ramps or 2 mountains. And then obviously if it stays running, it should be higher over here than it is over here. Really basic to understand this. I don't know why this seems to avoid, or not avoid, but seems to confuse a lot of people, but this is what a graph for ICP should look like when you're cold starting a truck, okay? So I'm going to go ahead and print screen and put that over there. I have that on my customer data log. And what was our ICP? It needs to be 500 plus PSI, right?
Yes.
Our ICP was 2847, right?
Mm-hmm.
2847. Our ICP voltage was 3.94. So let's go ahead and write that down. Okay, and then we have IPR. IPR needs to be 72. Well, it's 72 right there. It was actually a little bit higher than that, but it just really needs to be in excess of 30. Technically, IPR can probably come off of this screen. I only leave it on there because that helps me identify if there is a leak. But it's technically, I can usually see a leak in one of these two as well, if there is a leak, okay? EGR valve position, let's take a look. That was a 0.90, and that's just a touch high, but it did not cause any issue with the truck to start running drive, so I'm not worried about EGR valve position right now. Sync. I have sync, so we're going to make that say yes, and I have FICM sync. We're going to make that say yes as well. If the truck is a crank nose start, These two items right here are often things that you have to look into. So we're going to scroll on down. We're going to go outside and we're going to check things. We're going to look at blow-by amount. We're going to look for base oil pressure leaks. We're going to see if the truck has got a crankcase reroute. It doesn't. I already saw it, so I'm going to go ahead and put an N in there for no. Cold power balance. Did it pass or fail? It absolutely failed, and it also failed both ways. I'm going to test the fan clutch. Let me show you how to do that. I've already got everything done above this. Let's go ahead and do that now. Go down here to where you choose your different options. I have a predefined PID set, and it's going to be a 6L fan. What you're looking for is RPM, fan speed signal, as well as fan variance and engine oil temp and engine coolant temp. Why are these two important? Well, I'm trying to warm this truck up right now, and I'm doing these tests at the same time to help warm the truck up before I go drive it. Not only that, if it's going to break down or shut off, it's going to break down or shut off in my parking lot. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Fan variance, we're going to go ahead and control it. Hit the little pound sign or the hashtag sign, depending on your generation. Let's go ahead and bring that on up to 99 or 100%, whatever it'll go to. In this case, it went to 100%. Next thing, let's grab a hold of RPM and let's bring that up to 1200 RPMs. Notice your fan speed here is still staying in the 400s. If you want to speed this process up, raise the RPMs. You can only control the RPMs with the computer up to 1200, but I can control the RPMs with my foot on the gas pedal all the way up to like 2500 or so. Notice what the fan signal speed is doing here. Notice it rose up as well, right? Let's take a look. Remember, before it was reading like 400, right? Well, you needed a couple seconds for the clutch to engage, and now it's reading 900. The fan, the water pump pulley has compared to the crank pulley is roughly 20-25% smaller, okay? So typically you see, I actually said that, might have said that backwards, but typically what I see is a 20% difference between the two right here, okay? There's a pulley clutch size, like, not pulley clutch, damn it, I can't even speak today. There is a pulley size discrepancy there, and that's why these numbers are not going to be the same. And typically I see a 20% difference between the two. It could be 15%, it could be 18%, it could be 20%. But typically when I'm actually performing this test, I see a 15 to 20% difference right here. This is an example of the fan clutch working properly. If this fan didn't come up to within about 20% of what the engine RPM was, that would be an example of it not working. So I would say this is going to be a pass. I'm going to go ahead and scroll on down. We're going to do a glow plug monitoring test. So before I do that, I want to relinquish control off of the RPM, and I also want to relinquish control off of the fan variance. Now we're going to go over to the toolbox and we're going to go into self-test, powertrain, engine, and it's the glow plug test. I didn't have any codes for the glow plugs, so I doubt that I'm going to get any glow plug, I doubt it's going to fail the test, but I'm going to do it anyway, because it's what you're supposed to do when you're doing a general diag here at Marty's Diesel. Give it a second for the test to complete. All right, we have a glow plug pass. I'm going to print screen that, and I'm going to paste it over here, okay? Now, I will need to find level ground, and I'm going to test the transmission fluid level, and I'm also going to check the blow-by. Let's go ahead and do that outside now. All right, first thing we're going to do is we're going to pull the trans dipstick. We're going to clean it off. While he does that, we're going to check blow-by. Notice that it dances around. That's just fine. It doesn't pop off. Also, I don't see a crazy amount of blow-by coming out of there. So that tells me the engine's probably in pretty good shape. We're going to go ahead and check the trans fluid, pull it out, hold it sideways, turn it over, turn it right there. So our transmission fluid is right here at the very bottom. Now technically we are going at a little bit of an uphill angle here, so I'm not overly concerned by that, and I'm going to check it again when it's hot. So we're going to get back in the truck. We're going to close the hood and get ready for a test drive. We're going to close it and barely put it on the safety latch just so that we don't smash these gauges. So I went back and filled out my blow-by amount, and also could it be causing low pressure leaks? Obviously no, because that thing has nothing for blow-by. Scroll on down and let's go down to where the transmission fluid level is. That's going to be correct. The next thing that we really need to do is go wide open throttle a couple of times in the truck. Why do we go wide open throttle? Well, it's to simulate what a customer might do when they're driving the truck. It's to simulate what might happen if somebody's towing a trailer or something like that. We're going to get all of these while we're driving, and then we're going to come back and we're going to get a VGT test done. So stay tuned.